In this segment, we're going to talk about the igniter. And we're going to do this in two parts. The first segment, we'll talk about adjusting your igniter before you have to replace it. Many times, if you're getting a situation where your grill won't light, a simple adjustment to the igniter will save you from having to buy a new one. So this first segment will deal with how to adjust it to see if you can keep your igniter continue working. There could be several reasons why your igniter is not working, and one of the most often overlooked is the air shutter. Is it getting air? Occasionally from the factory you may receive a grill that has the air shutter closed off. Just by accident it may have been closed. So the first thing you want to look at is make sure that your air shutter is open to let it get air so that it'll create a spark. And of course you do that by loosening this lock nut on the back. You'll have to remove the control panel as we talked about to look at it, but there's your air shutter. Just make sure it's open and that'll give you a spark. When we say igniter, what we're referring to is actually two pieces. Behind this knob is the actual igniter itself. It creates a spark. And inside the grill is what we're going to make the adjustment on. You can see a burner. This is the way this sits inside the grill. So the way this is intended to work, when you turn your sparker, these two prongs create a spark and ignite the gas as it comes out, and that's how you light your grill. Well, what happens is, in the continual heating and cooling of the grill as you use it over a period of time, these two prongs can move close together or they can spread far apart. And what we're going to try to do to adjust it, after a couple other little things, will be to make sure the gap, it's much like gap in a spark plug, the gap at the tip of these two prongs, this piece is called the electrode. You want to make sure that gap at the top of the prongs is about 1/4 inch. That's the optimal distance for those two prongs to be to get the spark to arc and hit the gas to ignite your grill. So we'll get into there in a minute, but what you're going to be trying to do, I kind of use my fingertip between those two prongs. If it's too close, I'm going to spread them apart, and you want to be careful. If you do it too hard, you may pull one of these prongs off, and then after that you have to replace it. Another reason that your igniter may not work, it could be a dog or has chewed into this, or maybe the wire has been pinched and it's not getting a spark. So to access the igniter, we'll do this. First you pull off your gas knob. Some of these gas knobs have a set screw in it. You'll need the little Allen wrench that came with your grill to remove it. Some of them just pull off. I've already taken the 4 screws out of my control panel, and you can see this is the wire end of the electrode, and it's plugged in to the actual spark igniter. So the first thing I want to do is inspect that wire, make sure there's no tears in it or splits, and then I want to make sure it's good and seated in the igniter. I'll pull it out and just push it down again to make sure it's got a good seat to it. And if all that is good, then you're going to have to adjust those two prongs. I'm going to show you how you can do it without actually removing it from the grill. You can do it in its installed position, and we'll get into that. It's very rare that the igniter, this is the igniter, goes bad. Now, over a period of time, with some age, if you notice a spring laying on the ground or this little black cap, well, you know it's bad, and it's just worn itself out, and that'll have to be replaced too. 2 screws hold this on to the control panel. So we'll disconnect the wire, and now I'm going to show you how to adjust these two prongs in its installed position without you having to remove it. One thing you always want to do, just like any time you work on a gas grill, is make sure the gas is off and turn your gas off at the tank and disconnect the regulator hose. That's a safety procedure you should do any time that you work on a gas grill. In order to access the electrode of the igniter in its installed position, you're going to have to remove the drip pan. I'll put the cooking grid up in the inside of the lid. It's a good place to store it. Now you'll want to remove the drain valve from your drain pipe that your bucket hangs on from underneath, so you can get your drain pipe, get your drip pan out. So we'll lift the drip pan or sizzle tray out, and that's what you'll see inside the grill. This is a deflector plate that you're looking at, and what I'm going to do is use a mirror to be able to see the electrode in its installed position. Okay, what we're looking at here is the inside of the grill. I've rigged the camera up. As we said, as you face the grill, the electrode, the item you're trying to get, is on the left side of the burner as you face the grill. What I like to do, I just get a big mirror, a cheap one I got, and that kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking at. You can see the electrode in its installed position, and what I'm going to do, now look, don't do this when the grill is hot, because you will get burned. Do it when the grill is cold, obviously. But you can see that electrode in there may be the cause of my problem, so I'm going to, with this mirror, I'm able to see it. I'm going to stick my hand in here and just put my finger in it a little bit, spread those prongs. If you can see that. Just a little bit to make it arc a little better. And that's all there is to it. And be careful also not to cut yourself on the side edge of the deflector plate, which sits over top of the burner. But that's what you're trying to do to adjust the electrode in its installed position. Now this is after you've looked at the wire, make sure it's connected, make sure there's not a tear or a cut or a crimp in that wire, and make sure your electrode is good too. So what I'll do here is I'll see if it's working good, and I will light it. Now you can see inside, and after I've made sure that that's about a 1/4 inch between the tips of those two prongs. I was careful when I spread them apart. I didn't want to break one off. This is what it should do. See it sparking? Now I'm going to see if it lights. I'm going to turn the gas on, and there it goes, first time. So that is how to adjust the igniter in its installed position to see before you buy a new one. Now, if for some reason you have to take that igniter out, you certainly can. You can see it down in here. There's a screw. You can see the end of it there that holds that in place, and there's an access hole in the bottom of the grill that you can stick a Phillips head screwdriver up there and drop that electrode out if you'd rather do it. But sometimes with age and heat, those screws get a little corroded and they're hard to get out. So I like to try to do it first in the installed position, and make sure you use caution. Don't burn yourself. Don't do it when it's hot. Don't cut yourself on any sharp parts of the grill. So that is how you adjust the electrode in its installed position on a Holland grill.